It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley as we begin a Friday. Gary, what's up?
Well, yesterday I started paying attention to it because I happened to see the headline, and it said, some expert looking at the film of the aliens in Las Vegas, and it's legit. So I'm looking through the pictures, I'm looking through the videos. Is the shadow, that big shadow, is that the alien?
Yeah,
the real tall shadow, is that because I still haven't seen the damn alien.
Yeah.
Where's the alien?
I think it was disguised as a tree.
It's like,
see, it's right over there.
Well, this is legit, and it's a shadow. Well, it's a shadow.
Yeah. Yeah. How is it that we can get so many things recorded on video? And we can't get, and there's been how many sightings over the years? I mean, look, early on, I get it. None of us had a camera in our hand. Now, all of us have a camera in our hand, and we have really good cameras. Remember the really bad cameras back in the day, and every dad had one on their, in front of their face the whole time at every event, and the resolution was horrible. Any modern smartphone has much greater resolution than any of those consumer cameras.
And here's the other thing, too. I saw the police talking to the three guys, and I see the still picture of them, standing in the, near that gate of the fence.
Yeah.
Look at, this is the moment they saw. Well, you're taking a picture of the people looking at the alien. Show me the damn alien.
Right.
And don't tell me that if you've got three young people that have cameras and there's an alien sitting right in front of them, that they don't take the clearest. Okay, take another picture over here. We won't have to work the rest of our life because we've got this alien. Let's take it. No, we turn around and ran.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay. All right. Let's get to the fact that it really doesn't matter whether there are aliens or not. We're doomed.
Yeah. Well, remember the late Harry Reid from Nevada said there are no extraterrestrial aliens working construction in Nevada. Is that what he said? I could have that wrong. I might have that wrong.
Well, you might be living in the bubble of today so much that you actually forgot what the quote was a few years back.
The details matter. That's the question. Does the truth matter anymore? According to everyone on the left, the answer is no. So I'm just going to make it up as I go. By the way, I thought about that yesterday. I'm running some errands, and I'm thinking to myself, Bragg making up, things in terms of the charges against Trump in that case. Alicia James, the AG of New York State, and all of these things being thrown at Trump, all these things conjured up. I mean, we talked about it yesterday. We've talked about it endlessly for years, the Russian collusion hoax, all these things that are just made up. I mean, just absolute fabrications. And I thought to myself, why is it that Gary and I are so worried about it's so easy to sell the lies on the left. All we have to do is convert, and we can just make it up as we go along on our talk show every night. We can just bring stuff to the table that's nowhere near the truth.
Yeah, but that's unfair.
Oh, is it?
It's not fair.
Dang it.
Didn't we bring that up last night?
It's not
definition
equitable.
Of fairness. It's not equitable. It's not fair. The other side pathologically lies on I was going to say on a consistent basis. That's redundant, is it not?
Yes.
They pathologically lie every single day. If we miss anything, if we make a mistake, just a mistake, it's like bam.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
we get hit hard.
You guys. It's like, so we have to be 100% accurate.
Right.
The president can be a pathological liar.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not really complaining because you and I don't want to talk about things that aren't lies. And if we're corrected, we make a mistake and somebody tells us okay, fine. And we actually bring it up. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Because many times I have mixed up Trump and Biden. And people go, what do you mean?
Well, no.
You said Trump did that. I go, oh, sorry, I meant Biden.
The name's just going to pop out.
Yeah.
Well, look, we went on for years, believing Don Rickles was the star of Hogan Heroes. And then, of course, here's, by the way, the very truth is, as you mentioned, we couldn't get away with that for one segment. We inundated.
Couldn't. No, we couldn't.
Inundated.
It's not fair.
It's not
How
fair.
come we have to deal in the truth and the other side never has to? We want equity in the truth.
We want equity. We don't even know how it applies. We want equity. By the way, a buddy of mine, there was this multi-discussion on text, and it was a video of a NASCAR track. It wasn't an actual race, but it was a NASCAR track and a NASCAR up there. And it was seasoning the going back and forth, in the warming up, seasoning the tires. You ever heard that? Seasoning the tires? Yeah. Okay, any of us who grew up watching racing, you know what that means. And I said, no, that's not the phrase today. You are giving each of those tires an equal opportunity to form a relationship with the track. It's called rubber equity.
Well, since we started out talking about the aliens, there's a new division of the FBI, the X-Files, that the Biden administration has just created. And its motto, the truth is out there and we have no interest in it.
It's out there and we buried it and you'll never find it. Yeah. God. We'll never admit to it. It is really insane, going over the story, over and over again with Biden and what he's doing to Israel. And Israel basically saying, listen, we've kind of been in this fight all alone, and we expect that, we're gonna move on, and we know we'll be isolated in this fight against Hamas. We'll have to do these things on our own.
By the way, just so people know, the Republicans have no intention of really impeaching Biden over this. What they wish to do is have Democrats vote on it. They want to get Democrats as many votes as possible to bring this up, because the American, but you even saw Democrats were coming out yesterday and saying, all right, this isn't good at all. What was the one, here it is, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee on Thursday's broadcast of News Nation, The Hill, House Armed Services Committee ranking member Adam Smith of Washington State said that the White House needs to clean up President Joe Biden's comments on Israel to CNN to reiterate our support for Israel, because to the extent it looks like we are separating from Israel, and that just gives Hamas all the more incentive to keep fighting. Needs to clean it up.
How? He's not going to do that.
And I heard someone else said, "Well, this shows that he really has cognitive problems." Who was a Republican that said, "I hope this is just his cognitive problems out there, or the fact that he forgot." It's not. Stop that.
Yeah, well, no. Quit going to that extent to make an excuse for him. Yeah. There's nothing wrong. You know how I know that? I heard it directly from Corinne Jean-Pierre. She tells the truth. I don't need anything more than her word.
Well, look, it's time for America to understand that the Democratic Party are the hate mongers, and that is not over the top rhetoric.
No,
we saw it. We saw it with the Black Lives Matter lies about police departments.
Yep.
In order to create racial hatred. We saw it with election laws. We've seen it with voter ID, where they say it's racist. We see it with the Georgia election law, where the president said, that it's basically Jim Crow 2.0, that bringing that law into effect was actually bringing back Jim Crow, and he did that to create hatred between people with different skin colors. And he promoted it. He's never rescinded it, and now nobody cares about it anymore. Not even Democrats are talking about the Georgia election law. It's fine and dandy. He lied to create hatred between people of different skin color.
Yep.
And so what he's doing now is we're seeing it. Look, it came out very early on. Remember the 500 different bureaucrats in the Biden administration come out, immediate ceasefire. Then it was his own staff. That liberal media reported on his own staff saying, we need to get a ceasefire. We need to have a ceasefire. They're a bunch of anti-Semitic Jew haters.
Yep. And
And that's what the president is. And don't give me this stuff. It's the cognitive problems because they tell me he is fine. There's nothing wrong with him. He has more energy, and the young people of his administration can't keep up with him because he is so vibrant and he is so critical thinking. So,
well, look, one of the moments of clarity is the Aaron Burnett interview, and what he says in that interview, by the way, did not sound overly prepared at all. He was not reading it. He was very clear, very deliberate how he answered that question or those questions. And you can't get around that. You can't say, well, that's a gaffe. He said that there is no excuse whatsoever because, all right, I guess we'll just entertain the delusion for just a few seconds. If that happened, what do you think would happen with everyone around him knowing that, okay, you can't do this? If this were not his agenda, if this weren't his agenda, they would all stop him and go, look, you got to move forward. You got to give them what they're requesting, what they need to eliminate Hamas. And there's no way politically to win this and blah, blah, blah. They don't care. He doesn't care. He's got the hatred in his heart, and he doesn't care what you say about it, Jack.
And I'll tell you this: the problem with the Republicans, in the House wanting to file articles of impeachment against him for not appropriating the money that Congress wanted for political reasons, that he wants the pro-terrorist vote. Mm-hmm. He wants the anti-American pro-terrorist vote. The only reason the reason that falls apart is he's an anti-Semite himself.
Yeah.
The administration hates Jews.
Yep.
When the other side calls him Genocide Joe, it should be the other way. Yeah. He abandoned the American hostages. When we came out about a month ago, just furious because I'd never seen that in American history where a president basically said, to hell with the hostages. And now he's just doubled down on this. This is not just, and that's why when you had Adam Smith of California trying to make it, well, he needs to clean it up. He just didn't know what he was saying. Bull manure.
Yeah, I don't buy that for a second.
He knew exactly what he was saying. The administration are a bunch of anti-Semites. They hate Jews. They're pro-terrorist. They're anti-American. And if you want to look at the policies, we can go through the policy. Is it a pro-American policy to have the border open? Is it a pro-American policy to have the crime that we have to defund the police? Is it pro-American to sit there and destroy our electric grid by pretending that we can run it on solar and wind? Is it pro-American to lie about what the generals told him to do in Afghanistan and lie to the American people about it over and over again? Is it pro-American to abandon the only Western democracy in the Middle East, the modern Western democracy of Israel, our loyal ally, after they were brutally attacked, and we would never, as the United States, throw the policy at Israel. We would never, throw the policy that we're throwing at Israel at the United States. We would never live that way.
We wouldn't allow that for a second.
If we were attacked that way. So it's just the final evidence of the bigotry, the anti-Semitism, the Jewish hatred, the pro-terrorism identity politics. They judge people by groups and not individuals. That's what the Democratic Party has mainstreamed. And we have said this from the very, very beginning. Well, how do we get here? Well, you get here by an entire political party mainstreaming racism through identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals. And we've told you what the evidence is. Critical race theory, the part of critical race theory where they are promoting the fact that all white people are culturally racist to the point that it might as well be in their DNA, and therefore society must be set up that way. Mm-hmm. And very early on in the late 80s, early 90s, when they started the modern identity politics movement by saying that blacks who are conservative really aren't black. They're Uncle Toms. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's amazing that the modern identity politics movement actually was started by the Democratic Party against blacks.
Right.
And so this is not, this has been their long-standing policy. And all they did with identity politics was add Jews, stereotype Jews, and then try to make a moral equivalency between a modern Western democracy of Israel and a brutal terrorist group of Hamas.
Right. That instantly Israel is the bad guy. Keep in mind, they wanted that bogus hospital bombing story to be all about how Israel did that.
Wall Street Journal goes into the bombs that they won't let them have, which are the precision bombs that can hit within 10 feet.
Right.
And so actually it's going to cause more civilian deaths by not giving them the weaponry, which is the precise weaponry to have fewer civilian casualties. 866-90-RED-I.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Logging miles during the hot summer months can put a serious strain on you and your truck's health. Did you know pollutants and allergens in the air outside can enter your cab through the HVAC system without you even cracking a window? That's why it's important to check those cabin air filters. Not only do dirty cabin air filters contaminate the air you breathe, they can also cause major damage to HVAC components like blower motor resistors and AC compressors. Have your cabin air filter serviced if you notice less airflow than usual coming from the interior vents. This is a common sign that your filters are at the end of their life cycle. Breathe easy when the air in your cab is fresh.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, we'll tell you the type of weapons that actually, as the Wall Street Journal pointed out, they've been delaying since January of this year, which are the munitions that can strike within 10 feet. They're GPS accurate within 10 feet. And what Biden has done is ensure, because Israel's going to go in, that the war is actually bloodier. So it's, again, it's the insanity of where the left is today and the far left. And that's where President Biden lies. So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Did you see Lee Zeldin on CNN? Oh my gosh, we'll get to this a little bit later on, where he was saying there's no crime, and so the panelists are, well, here's what possibly it could be. It's like, you're talking about the possibility. We're 3 weeks in, and the judge, we don't know what the crime is. The prosecution, 3 weeks into a trial, has not said what the crime is. You're trying to guess what the crime is.
Right.
They haven't said what the crime is.
Right.
And the other thing, too, is when they start talking about, the whole the misdemeanor part of it, and and trying to tie it into campaign finance. There was no campaign finance money used. You can't make that. You cannot make that leap. You cannot make that jump.
No, you can't.
It's completely and totally asinine. It really is.
On our website, redeyeradioshow.com. Show info with stations, podcasts, and more. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. I can't believe it. I'm sort of flashback into Vietnam here. The horror of war does not remove its necessity. Charles Cook in National Review, and I'm just I'm like, what are you doing? Is this another Edwin Starr song? War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. And people say there's no good that comes from war. War is brutal. It's hell. Everything that you could describe it as, it is. War, depending on what your purpose of is for a war, can be extremely beneficial to society in the long term. That's just the reality of it.
Well, and we're talking about the preservation of an entire society. The people of Israel here,
right?
They're fighting for their existence, and there's no way around that. You know, that's the other thing that you don't hear. The left has just buried that part of the whole thing. That's not necessarily new. Many on the left have kind of been doing that for a while. But this time around, no one's saying, and we said it when the president was talking to Aaron Burnett, because I said my question would be, well, what do you expect Israel to do? Do you think they should do nothing? Well, and where do you draw that line? Where is that threshold? Do they just, I don't know, give them a talking to? This whole idea where, you know, well, they need to negotiate a peace settlement. They need to, no, absolutely not. The only way to negotiate with an enemy who will not stop until you are gone is to eliminate that enemy.
Right. Well, that's where you have to ask the right questions, and of course they won't. I mean, because he goes to soft media.
Yeah.
But even the soft media there on inflation and stuff like that really went after him in a couple of points. But again, it's the follow-up questions, which is, all right, you say they shouldn't go into Rafah. We know the leadership is there.
Yeah.
We know the leadership of, do you want the leadership of Hamas to survive this?
Right.
Well, no, but then how do they get them?
Right.
Do they go door to door? You're now denying them. And let me just get to it right here. Let me just get to Wall Street Journal. And they talk about the resolution here that Lindsey Graham put through on Tuesday, rolled out a measure condemning the administration decision to halt weapons deliveries to Israel. All Senate Republicans joined the measure except for Rand Paul of Kentucky. I want the Republican Party in the Senate, and I think the House will follow, to firmly state that we believe Israel is a rule of law nation. They have an ethical, well-regulated military, that the weapons that we're providing them are necessary for their continued survival, that you have Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran all dedicated to the destruction of Israel, not the uplifting of the Palestinian people. The resolution rehears the Biden administration's many promises of ironclad support for Israel. Yet, among other weapons, the measure also notes, listen to this now, the measure also notes that since January of 2024, the Biden administration has effectively paused the sale of up to 6,500 joint direct attack munitions. These kits offer GPS directions to bombs so they can be accurate within approximately 10 feet. They are exactly the precision weapons that reduce civilian casualties in urban warfare. Mr. Biden's supposed moral stance will make the Israeli operation in Rafah more bloody and more costly. Now, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will probably try to deny the measure a floor vote, but the House could force Mr. Biden to at least pay some political price for his policy choices. Senator Graham says he and Senator Susan Collins of Maine are also looking at ways to push back through the appropriation process. Mr. Biden's threat to pull the plug on the main U.S. ally in the Middle East is a watershed moment that will radiate across the world. Other allies will wonder what they're risking if they cast their lot with the United States. But as they point out here, Democrats hammered Republicans for months to pass U.S. military aid for America's friends abroad. Now, only weeks after that bill was passed, with overwhelming bipartisan support, Biden is holding up the weapons Israel needs to prevail in a war for survival. I mean, just everything that you've seen. And by the way, we know on the college campuses, we've seen, it's anti-Semitism, it's anti-America, it's anti-capitalism. It's the same crap over and over again.
Right. Anti-everything.
Yeah. Well, anti-everything that actually and this is the thing, everything that they believe, if you see everything that they believe is anti-democratic.
Yeah.
They wish to, the Biden administration wants Hamas to survive so the war will continue. We've talked about this before, the insanity of it. It reminded me of the Star Trek episode where remember the two sides just kill people.
Right.
They just kill their citizens, they put them in and vaporize them, whatever, and that's how they do a war. The war never ends, and it's like, well, no, we'll kill some people if you kill your people. And what Biden is doing is by the way, what Biden is doing is even worse than Vietnam. Because you've got Biden with his policy funding Iran and funding its proxies who are attacking the United States. How many times? I don't even know. It was a month and a half, 2 months ago, it was 150 attacks on U.S. interest, and provided the funding so Hamas can go in to Israel and do what they do. And then we had said it, this is even when they passed the bipartisan bill a few weeks ago on funding all of this, and it was like, oh, Biden signs it, so Biden now is funding one side, and now he's funding another side. And now one side gets close to the fact where they can destroy the enemy, and the one side we're talking about is our ally, who is a modern Western democracy with rules and regulations just like we have, and checks and balances and everything else, versus a brutal genocidal terrorist group. And Biden's like, oh, no, we got to help this side now. What the hell's going on? Can any Democrat explain it? Any Democrat?
No.
Anyone? You can't. That's why nobody really tried to yesterday. They just avoided it.
I don't know. We said at the end of the show yesterday, there's no way to back out of this. There's no way to sugarcoat this. Politically, there is no way to fix this. And Biden doesn't want to fix it, by the way. The Democrats are scrambling. The Democrats right now are dealing with their constituents in their districts and states that are fuming. And how do they defend their president? Is there anything right now? You've got the border, inflation, and now clear support for Hamas, tying Israel's hands. Tell me how you reverse any of this. You can't. The way you reverse it is electing somebody else to be the president. There's no way to fix any of this. Well, Biden doesn't want to fix it. He doesn't care to fix any of this.
One of the problems is the squad is cheering. America doesn't agree with the squad at all. Most Democrats don't agree with the squad. I'm talking Democratic voters. I don't know. I can't tell you anymore what the Democratic members of Congress, what they wouldn't vote for that is extremely radical. Right. I can't tell you. We'll see if they're forced to have any of the votes here, whether it's on a possible impeachment or the Senate bill, or if Republicans pass a bill and then it gets sent to the Senate. But they should pound. They should do what John Lovitz did. I can't believe it. Republicans, you need to follow.
Yeah.
John Lovitz.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, think about it,
and that's where he just went, right after them and just said 70 members of the House, 70 Democrats said they won't vote a bill that said we're not going to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
And that's where he just said, I'm done. I wish I could play the audio cut. I woke up this morning, saw the audio cut from Michael Rappaport, the actor, and I just wrote to you, okay, up 30 seconds, show's done.
Yeah.
Because he cursing and calling the president, and you could have said a couple of years ago he was as far left Democrat as anybody in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And
no, he was squarely on the far left. I don't know where to put him on the spectrum, but I will tell you clearly now, he knows what Biden and the Democrats are doing. He sees it. He's not the only one. I know that in my heart of hearts. I can't measure it. I don't think any pollster can measure it because I think too many Democrats are willing to look the other way for whatever reason. They hate Trump. They don't ever want to vote for the GOP. They don't want to be seen or known as somebody who would vote for the GOP. Remember the story of the closeted MAGA people, talking at a get-together? Well, you can't have that. I don't believe at all that the Democratic Party right now politically has their rank and file in line. That the rank and file are there 100%. Hardcore left, yes. The radicals, absolutely. By the way, how long has it been since? The squad has been going after Biden repeatedly, and now, man, they're totally on board for this.
Oh yeah,
tying Israel's hands. Woohoo! Yeah, we're on board.
Coming up on the top of the hour, actually, I read earlier, and I want to make sure I get to it, Brett Stevens from the New York Times just goes through point by point, and his points are, this doesn't end the war. This is going to prolong it.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have more civilian casualties.
Yep.
You're going to have more door-to-door combat. He said, and it doesn't matter. No Israeli government. It doesn't matter if it's Netanyahu. It doesn't matter who it is. They're not going to end this war. Right. They're not going to do it until every leader of Hamas is dead, and in Rafah, that everyone is dead, and wherever they go, whoever was responsible for this, we know the Israelis, they will track them down anywhere in the world. And that's the message. It was the same message we had after 9/11. It didn't matter that bin Laden was in hiding for a couple of years. The message was, we will hunt you down, you will die.
Yep.
You did this to us, you will die. How many years did it take? He died.
Yep.
The leaders will be killed of Hamas, however you wish to do it, but you're going to prolong the war. And you're going to have more civilian casualties. This is sort of like the whole thing with, I know it's a completely different topic, but sort of like when Biden came out and just said with the Keystone pipeline, I'm going to cancel it. Climate change. We need to save the planet. And then his own staff came back and said, well, actually, if you wish to save the planet, you would keep that Keystone pipeline because the other ways of transporting it, which we can't stop, are more dirty.
His transportation secretary said that. His Department of Education's Department of Energy secretary said that. And the very first climate czar for the United States, John Kerry, all said the same thing. They had, the more efficient and more climate-friendly approach, and moving the oil is definitely a pipeline.
And so what the squad is cheering for, you know what I think they're cheering for? I think they want the war to be prolonged.
Yeah.
They want it to be, they want it to be dirtier. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. As always, we do appreciate it. Made it to a Friday. Coming up, where the Trump trial is going, I'm telling you right now, Trump is getting great campaign moments.
No, it really is. I think to myself, the media is covering this in a weird way because they keep talking. The mainstream media, the left media, even sometimes Fox News, they cover it as if these charges are legit. However, they're covering it. And every single day you're seeing stories on this, and he's getting tons of campaign benefit, I think, so far from this. And by the way, also fundraising. Fundraising has increased during this whole thing.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Here we are. We've made it to a Friday.
That's definitely an alien.
I was trying to think of the shadow.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly have been superimposed after the fact. I refuse to believe that.
Well, I like the expert says the video is genuine. Okay, that's fine. Where's the alien?
Right.
And
for 3 years, people thought that was the real Tom Cruise. You saw the fake Tom Cruise thing. There's a fake Keanu. These, it's all the AI stuff. And, it's like we get some kind of gray digitized, doesn't even look like a shadow, by the way. It looks like my 5-year-old grandson got into the editing software.
Which one are you talking about?
The video, the
Vegas?
The Vegas.
Well,
the shadow part of the fence.
You know what it reminds me of? The original, The Day the Earth Stood Still, like it's a reflection of Gort.
Oh, yeah.
Who is that's what it looks. When I saw that, I went, I got to watch that. And I'm talking about not the one that came out with. Was it Keanu Reeves?
It was
did
Keanu
that?
Reeves,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't bad, but the original I saw as a kid, and that was just like,
well,
I had to go as Gort on Halloween because I was so into that movie. But
Keanu, when he was in that role, didn't shoot one person, so I thought, that's boring.
He didn't kill anybody.
He didn't fire 4 trillion bullets. What's the point?
He didn't have a death count over 100.
He didn't kill the population of a small country over a dog and a car.
But I'm like, that's the reflection of Gort. And it's like, oh, so you're saying the video is real. Well, I didn't think the video was fake. So, but where's, and I'm going through like 3 stories. I finally started paying attention to it yesterday, and I'm getting frustrated going, where's the damn alien?
Yeah.
What, is it the shadow? And here they are looking at the alien. It shows them through that fence. I'm like,
yeah.
Where's the alien? I don't care about here are the people that this is the moment when they saw the alien. Where's the alien?
Well, here's the other thing, too, with me. It's because the alien is right, according to the allegations, on the fence of the gate they're walking to. It's right there.
Right.
It's right on the other side of that fence.
Where they could hear the alien breathing.
Yes. And they're about to walk through that gate. They don't detect it there. None of those things that, they talk about, well, I could hear it breathing and I could do, when they were talking to the cops and everything else. And, it's all this, they walk through it. They're just oblivious to, oh, well, I guess that's mind control. They have that power. Okay, fine. We have to entertain everything, every possibility. But my point is that this, what's supposed to be the head of the alien, which is just a blur, it's just this gray blur. You were right there. You were 3 feet away, and you couldn't get a clear video of it.
I can see the commercial, using that and going, it's time to get the S-24.
Yeah.
Is it the S-24?
Yeah. We can get pictures of them while they're still on their own planet. By the way, my wife has one, and that's only a slight exaggeration.
It's time to get the S-24 smartphone. It's got the best camera out there. Don't be caught claiming you've seen an alien with a blurry picture or a shadow.
Well, it was weird because I was sitting there. I was like, I got to check out your camera. My wife got the phone, the S-24, and I'm like zooming in. She goes, are you looking at your toenails? I said, yeah, and they're gross. I can see everything. This is a horrible camera. I don't want to. We've gone too far. We've gone too far. Reverse. Abort. Get out.
I hate to agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he was was it when he was on Bill Maher? They're talking about aliens, and Bill's it's like he goes, well, the possibility is they could life. It's like life could exist somewhere else. Time travel? Well, time travel would be, or not time travel, but speed of light. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is when and I love this theoretical argument. It's a great theoretical argument. Is it more likely that somebody came from thousands of light years away and figured out how to get here quickly? Or are these just humans from the future coming back to the past? I love that. It's like, okay, go. And the other one that I liked, and this came out a couple of years ago, where it was, some physicist came out and he said, actually, if you look at the entire universe, the fact that, that there's probably, forms of life in the universe, but if you look at the billions of different planets and everything else and what happened on the planet Earth, what happened on the planet Earth is so rare that for the time span of the universe, for anybody to be at the exact point that we are, or even further intelligence that we are, the odds of that are almost zero, was his point. And again, it's not, I don't know. I'm just, and I'm like, it sort of does make sense. And he went through the fact of, what it took to get, human life on the planet Earth from a scientific point of view, what it took and the specific things that were necessary, the billions of things that need to come together to create intelligent life like we have here. Would have people just assume, well, of course it has to be reproduced elsewhere? He goes, not necessarily so. And I thought it was a great counter argument to the popular culture argument, which is, there has to be intelligent life out there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And his point was, I don't know if that's true because of just the timeline and the billions of things that it took just right at the right time in order to form human life, intelligent life, like us. The odds that it happened in the same time span, and they are so much more intelligent where they can do basically the speed of light to get here, or whatever technology that they would need. Just the odds are almost zero, is what was his point. I went, that's a good counterpoint. By the way, I have not come to a absolute conclusion as who was right, because someone's going to go, no, you're stupid to believe it. I'm not saying I don't know what I believe because I don't have the evidence to believe anything.
I have one thing that I think is definitive proof that not only do they exist, but they're here and have been for a while. And his name is Mark Zuckerberg. Don't try and debate me. You will lose.
That's where Men in Black was actually pretty good. Was like Michael Jackson. I thought I would be moved up in the.
Remember the British reporter that did it
in the organization?
Did an interview with him, and he's sitting in a tree. He's 40 years old. He's sitting in a tree.
Was that the Piers Morgan interview?
Not Piers Morgan. The other guy that also had a scandal. I forget his name, but he had a scandal surrounding him. But he was a British reporter. And he's they're at the Neverland Ranch, which, by the way, I found out wasn't a working ranch. That's weird. And we breed circus animals. But what would the branding iron even look like? But the thing is that you don't need much. You don't need much proof. Just look at. There's a few people you can look at, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't need the shadow figure. By the way, what took so long?
Well,
like, I was watching the video over and over again. And it took you a year to see that?
Well, then there's the practical things about any type of intelligent society. You see where our society has gone because of socialism. One of the questions, I'll never forget, I asked it one time when I was doing a local show, and it was something, and I went, "Here's a question."
Yeah.
Are aliens liberal or conservative?
Yeah, right.
In order to get, it was so much, people were actually arguing. What do you mean? No, aliens would be liberal. No, why they be conservative? But the fact is, you see where we have gone as free societies. Once you become a free society, and how the socialism creep has happened even in the United States, to the point of we can't finance anymore. I don't know how we're going to get out of this. The debt that we have here, it's going to stifle economic growth. It's going to stifle, any type of scientific exploration, because that's going to be when it comes between Social Security and space flight's going to be right out the window. We saw it happen. We went to the moon. Most people probably don't remember it. We went to the moon, and everybody was like, okay, it's Mars next. And it was like, boom, no, sorry, we're doing a space shuttle.
Yeah.
And people were pretty shocked going, we're not going to go any further? No, it's not economically viable to do so.
Right.
And so when you look at that, when you actually take the practicality things of intelligent life, and that's why I always love the thing that I love. I'm sure it happens at frat parties. Hey, do this bong. Does anybody do a bong anymore? I don't even.
Probably not.
Do a bong and answer the question.
Well, if it's a frat party, they're drinking Bud Light, right? Frat boys?
No. We shouldn't do the frat boy thing, because they're now the true Americans after the past couple of weeks.
That's
Are
true.
They not? Yes.
Our apology to frat boys.
Yes. But anywhere, okay, a bunch of Berkeley stoners. Hey, man, do this edible here, and let's have the discussion. Are they actually extraterrestrials, or are they humans from the future that have just done time travel back to the past? And that's what we're dealing with. Go ahead. I'm not high enough for that one yet.
Well, they come back and tell the story. It all started with internet billionaires. What? Yeah, they all wanted to go to space, and then, we finally made it. That was a long time ago. And it's just a cycle. It just repeats itself. It's kind of like Groundhog Day, but a lot longer. What? Are you saying Bezos? Yeah, Bezos. Richard Branson, all of them. Yeah, all of them. And now I'm Jeff Bezos' 11th million great-grandson. I come in peace.
Well, I was disappointed because I really started paying attention to like I said, when I saw this story, I go, all right, let me just delve into this one. So I'm getting frustrated. I'm like through 3 different stories. I'm like, I still don't see the alien.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, is that? And it goes, here are the cops with the people that I don't care about the cops.
That's the thing. It's like, We're going to make you watch the whole video. You know we can skip to the end, right?
I went to the cop cam, 28 minutes long.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Nothing.
I was like, I just wasted 28 minutes of my life.
It gets down to like a 4-second thing, and that's it. It's what they're claiming.
It was almost like the ultimate clickbait, and it got me big time yesterday.
Yeah.
And I wasn't satisfied after the clickbait session.
Right.
I didn't get what I wanted. I wanted an alien.
Then you ask the alien, well, listen, how did they do that? Well, they harnessed the power of Facebook, all of your data, to energize the entire project, all of your pictures of what you ate for breakfast.
We haven't even thought about supporting aliens as we're destroying the grid. Aliens use a lot more power than we do.
Oh, yeah. They do. It's true.
Imagine somebody just turning it on right now and then complaining, going, those guys were saying illegal aliens use more power. It's like, no. We're talking real aliens.
We're talking extraterrestrial individuals. Temporarily displaced universal travelers. That, oh man, I crashed in Vegas again. Can you think about that? Did you crash in Vegas again? Yeah, that's kind of convenient. You seem to always crash in Vegas. Sorry, man.
Yeah, that's where the last Alien movie took place.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was it going with Michael J. Fox where he gets vaporized. What was that one? The 50s spoof.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of the name of it. Yeah. Came out in the late 90s.
Something from Mars. What was it?
Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's how it all happens. Dude, every time you crash, it just happens to be in Las Vegas. Sorry, man. My bad.
Oh, and the one with what's his name, too, the one from the 70s with Jeff. They also went to Vegas. And the girl from Animal House.
Oh, the comedy, yeah.
Oh, it wasn't a comedy.
Wasn't it?
No, the one where he's got the little glowing balls that he holds in his hand that can do a bunch of stuff.
Oh, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, yeah.
Yeah, Starman.
Starman, yes.
Yeah.
That took place in Vegas, too.
Of course.
They ended up in Vegas.
Yeah, because beings who can travel at the speed of light are drawn to shiny things, right? I guess.
866.
I don't know.
90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Leased owner-operators should be aware of 4 common revenue myths, lest you fall into the trap of mistaking revenue for profit. Myth 1, concentrate on increasing revenue because costs will take care of themselves. This is not true, as costs are fundamental to the profit equation and the area where owners exert the most control to improve. Myth 2, more revenue per mile is the answer to all problems. Though carrier pay packages differ in structure, revenue per mile really doesn't change much from company to company. But there can be a big difference in miles, overall gross revenue, reimbursements, and fees. Myth 3, all you have to do to be successful is run a lot of miles. In reality, revenue is only half of the profit equation. Costs are the other half. It's possible to generate a lot of revenue, yet spend $1.10 to make every dollar. Myth 4, you can tell how well you're doing by the size of your settlement check. The settlement check is only a part of the success picture. Miles driven, loads hauled, conditions, mechanical problems, time off, and especially costs all have to be considered. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, one of the best pieces I read yesterday, just basically laying out why the president is completely wrong. But, I mean, it's really amazing that the times that we live in, Eric. You and I have done this for a long time. and to see what this administration has done across the board on so many different things that actually hurts the United States. This is really, I think that this is the most damaging in modern history. I mean, maybe we can go back 200 years and look at what happened at a particular time, and I haven't thought about that in my head and going, okay, that one might have been worse. But I've never seen an administration or a political party that has done so much to hurt Americans. And it's a calculated thing.
Yeah.
It's not government making our lives easier. It's making our lives harder and more dangerous. And it's the calculated and premeditated plan from them.
Right.
We'll get to that coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our app today, our Red Eye Radio app. Listen when and where you choose if you can't listen live overnight.
And thank you.
So here it is. It's actually Real Clear Politics. And Real Clear Politics is a great website because you can actually read a ton of different op-ed pieces and editorials.
Yeah.
And it really and it packages it into a nice, it's very easy to read. They've got, all their polls and everything else. But when I went to it, the first thing I saw was Thursday, May 9th, President Biden just made his biggest blunder. Brett Stevens from the New York Times, okay?
Yeah.
Considers himself more conservative, not really a Trump fan, works for the New York Times. And it's called President Biden just made his biggest blunder. And he writes here, here's the problems. The munitions cutoff helps Hamas. The tragedy in Gaza is fundamentally the result of Hamas's decision to start a war in the most brutal ways possible, to fight it behind and beneath civilians, to attack the border crossings through which humanitarian aid is delivered, and to hold on cruelly to Israel's 132 remaining hostages, living or dead, and Americans too. Whatever else the arms cutoff might accomplish when it comes to Israel, it is both a propaganda coup and a tactical victory for Hamas to validate its decision to treat its own people as human shields. And it emboldens Hamas to continue playing for time, especially in hostage negotiations, with the idea that the longer it holds out, the likelier it is to survive. Point number 2. It does not end the war. It prolongs it. No Israeli government, even one led by someone more moderate than Benjamin Netanyahu, is going to leave Gaza with Hamas still in control of any part of the territory. If the Biden administration has ideas about how to do that without dislodging it from Rafah, we have yet to hear from them. The point that you made. That's a point that you made.
Yeah.
Right. When you said, well, they need to follow up with the president. Well, then what do you do?
Yeah, what do you expect Israel to do here?
Yeah, what do you do with Hamas? What's Israel supposed to do now? What's the point? You're taking away precision weapons from them that are accurate within 10 feet. So there's going to be more blood, not less. There's going to be more civilian deaths. Are you telling them to stop the war? Mr. President, what's your plan? As soon as he says two-state solution, you destroy his argument. They don't want a two-state solution.
Hamas isn't calling for that?
Right. Stop promoting something that nobody wants. I mean, Eric, it is, I mean, this is, God, it's war. It's brutal war. We know that Hamas would destroy Israel in a second. That's their only goal. The vast majority of Palestinians agree they don't want a two-state solution.
Nope.
Why are we playing children here? But it doesn't end the war. It prolongs it. That means that one way or another, Israel is going in, if not with bombs, and the administration is also considering borrowing precision guidance kits But if they go in with the far less accurate 120 millimeter tank shells and 5.56 millimeter bullets, other than putting Israeli troops at greater risk, does the Biden administration really think the toll for Palestinians will be less after weeks or months of house-to-house combat? It diminishes Israel's deterrent power and is a recipe for a wider war. One of the reasons Israel isn't yet fighting a full-blown war to its north is that Hezbollah has so far been deterred from a full-scale attack, not least from fears of having its arsenal of an estimated 150,000 rockets and missiles decimated by the Israeli Air Force. But what if the Lebanese terrorist group looks at reports of Israeli munitions shortages and decides now would be an opportune time to strike? If that were to happen, the loss of civilian life in Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities could be immense. Biden would have no choice but to authorize a massive airlift of munitions to Israel, reversing this week's decision. And the United States might have to even more directly support Israel militarily. There will be unintended foreign policy consequences. Israel doubts about America's reliability as an ally won't lead to Israeli weakness. Instead, it will strengthen its determination to become far more independent of Washington's influence in ways we may not like. State-of-the-art Israel cyber tech for Beijing, closer Israeli ties with Moscow. Americans who accuse Israel of freeloading off U.S. power will like it even less when it becomes a foreign policy freelancer, something Biden something Biden should have learned when he tried to turn Saudi Arabia into a global pariah, only to learn, to his humiliation, the kingdom had other strategic options. Worse, rather than weaken Netanyahu and its political partners on the Israel far right, it will strengthen them. They will make the case that only they have the fortitude to stand up to a liberal president who folds to pressure from Israel-hating campus protesters. It's a political gift to Donald Trump. Though the anti-Israel chants on college campuses may be loud, they aren't especially influential. Few voters, including young ones, put the war in Gaza anywhere near the top of their list of political priorities. But a clear majority of Americans back the current level of support for Israel or even want to increase it, according to a recent ABC News poll. The cutoff will further alienate pro-Israel voters and will only partly mollify anti-Israel ones who will now pressure the president to go even further. In other words, it's a classic case of falling between stools. It also plays into the perception that Biden is weak, unable to stand up to the left flank of his party, and a feckless ally to our embattled friends. The last time the United States bailed on an ally in Afghanistan, the result was a political debacle from which the president's approval ratings have never recovered. Why would the White House want to put voters in mind of that episode? It's all true. But you know why? Because you look at this, you go, none of this makes sense. You can go through all the logical point-by-point things. You know, Brett Stevens from the New York Times is no different from the Wall Street Journal, no different from Nash. Everybody looks at this. If you look at the political pundits out there, they look at this and they go, and even Democrats now are coming aboard going, you can't do this. And that's why you have to understand that logic or connecting the dots or actually fighting the enemy doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter because when you practice racism, there is no logic to your mindset. When you hate any group of people just for the heck of hating them, when you hate Jews, when you hate Israel, when you are pro-terrorist, when you abandon a Western, a close Western democracy and choose a brutal terrorist group, which makes no sense. You know, you look at it. Yeah, I go back to Independent Bob a couple of weeks ago at the party. Well, yeah, these LGBTQ people, what are they thinking? They'd be executed. It doesn't matter. They don't think that. Their hate dominates everything. Hate has no logic to it. The president hates Jews. The administration hates Jews. The Democrats have been practicing identity politics for almost 40 years now, the modern identity politics movement. They don't care. They hate. Hate has no logic to it.
No, it doesn't. And it makes you wonder, okay, the next scenario, possible scenario, and you have to run through the scenario in your mind. A major terror attack on American soil. I'm not convinced this administration would have a response. I don't think they would look to defend America. I think they would do a couple of things that would look like they were doing something about it. They would talk about doing something about it. I don't think they would have any plans of eliminating the enemy.
Well, the thing is, the president did this a day after he was talking about how we will never forget our hostages, and we will do everything we can to get them out. Everybody knows it's an absolute lie. He's using American hostages who a lot of people think are probably dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he abandoned them completely, said to hell with Americans here. That's as anti-American as you can get. That's what set us off about a month ago when he just said, when the UN, when the U.S. didn't object to the UN ceasefire plan, where they just let it go through, and we just said he just abandoned U.S. hostages.
Mm-hmm.
He just said to hell with Americans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember that ever happening. You can sit there and you can look at Jimmy Carter and say he had his problems, and you can talk about the failed rescue attempt, but he wanted to rescue those hostages in Iran. The Biden administration done. Their hatred of Jews is so great in that White House. The anti-Semitism is so great that there is no logic. They don't look at it. Brett Stevens is going, and Wall Street Journal, National Review, anybody else is looking at this going, but it's not. Why would you do this? It makes no sense. It's going to prolong the war. You're going to get more civilians killed. They don't care about the civilians.
They don't care.
They don't care about the innocent civilians, quote, innocent civilians. They don't care about the hostages. They only care about what feeds their hate of Jews. That's what it's about in the White House and for a significant portion of the Democratic Party that has mainstream identity politics, which is hate, which is racism, which is judging people as a group and not as individuals. It's reprehensible, it's evil, it's immoral, and they've been blunt about it for the last few decades. They haven't even tried to hide it. And now, with identity politics, they simply added the Jews.
David Harsendi, townhall.com. Joe Biden is selling out Israel to the anti-Semitic mob. Nope. He's part of the anti-Semitic mob. In fact, he's leading it. There is not a more powerful person on the planet in the anti-Semitic mob than Joe Biden. That's a fact.
Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing it. You can't sit there and say he's making these decisions which are separate from the people that he's looking to get support from.
Anti-Semitic mob outside of Hamas has nothing but their words. Joe Biden is funding this, and he's tying the hands of Israel. He's leading the anti-Semitic mob through action. There's not a more powerful person in the anti-Semitic mob than Joe Biden.
I agree with you on that.
There's no way around that fact.
No. I don't care what he says. It's the behavior.
It's his actions.
It's his actions.
It's his policy. And we would have, if we were going to stand with Israel, that would have been very clear from day one. Your this whole thing of, repeating, our support for Israel is ironclad. Well, the problem is there's a great iron deficiency.
Well,
It's totally anemic. It's lacking iron because it's nothing but words. Your actions hold all of the proof.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, Stormy Daniels' testimony is done. We'll hear from Jonathan Turley coming up following the top of the hour. His analysis of where this is going, and it's just, I'm telling you, Eric, everything is blowing up in the Democrats' face here.
Yeah,
it
is.
I mean, I was telling you earlier. I said every time I see it, Trump's out promoting stuff. He comes out of that courtroom. The thing is, too, it's very, very concise because he's been in there all day. He comes out, makes a message. It's not an hour and a half speech,
right?
Drifting to all different places or whatever.
Right.
He's been you and I've talked about this. The last month, he has been extremely focused.
Yeah, he's been very disciplined.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning.
Hello.
I just came upon this, and it's quite humorous as much as it is pitiful.
Mm.
Some of these I haven't even heard. 7 blatant lies from Biden that ABC, CBS, and NBC refused to report. These are all things he has said in the last couple of weeks. Remember how they kept the list of every Trump lie? Remember?
No,
Trump,
yeah.
520. It's like, they don't do that list anymore for Biden, did they?
No. It's Glenn Kessler over at Washington Post on the fact checker thing. He just gets bottomless Pinocchios. Biden.
But these are the 7 lies from the last couple of weeks.
Uh-huh.
All right. Biden, without proof, says he was arrested standing on a porch with a black family during desegregation protest. When he was on with Stern, he recounted what his mother supposedly said while urging him to accept Barack Obama's 2008 offer to be his running mate. His mom says that he did not want him to turn down a man who was vying to become the first black president. Biden told Howard Stern, she said, "Joey, let me remember." True story, she said. "Remember when they were desegregating Linfield, the neighborhood, suburbia, and I told you that there was a black family moving in there, and there were people down there protesting. I told you not to go down there, and you went down. Remember that? And you got arrested standing on the porch with the black family, and they brought you back, the police." And I said, "Yeah, Mom, I remember that." There is no evidence that Biden ever got arrested during a civil rights protest, as the Washington Post and PolitiFact found, both liberal, when they looked into this claim back in 2022. And Biden has at least twice told the story of his supposed presence at this particular Delaware protest without mentioning any arrest, instead claiming that the police merely took him home that day. ABC, CBS, and NBC, evening and morning show coverage, 0 seconds. I didn't hear this one. Biden falsely claims he made a most eligible bachelor's list.
Really?
I didn't see that one. On May 2nd, the Washington Post reported 3 times in recent weeks at an April 16th campaign event.
Oh, no, I do remember. It's actually true. It was, I remember it was more of a newspaper ad, and it was Joe Biden's most eligible bachelor's list, and he was number 1 through 10. It's a list he created.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
3 times in recent weeks, April 16th, April 25th, to Stern, and, okay, it says 3 times. There's twice.
Eligible.
Oh, he must have said it twice then.
Did he ever make the most capable bachelor's list?
Biden said he was on the list of top 10 most eligible bachelors after his first wife was killed in a car accident in 1972. Biden has made this claim at least twice before, saying last year that he was on the list for 5 years. No such list can be found. ABC, CBS, NBC, evening and morning show coverage, 0 seconds. Number 3, Biden claims he was sent salacious pictures from women that were forwarded to the Secret Service. Now, how did we know that was false? We knew that was false because the Secret Service doesn't cover senators. President Biden recalled Friday that lovely women mailed him very salacious pictures when he was a young and unmarried senator, and that he handed the images over to the Secret Service in the bizarre interview with Howard Stern. A lot of lovely women, probably he's on with Stern going, he used to have a lot of babes on, so let me talk about the fact
That's the whole psychology behind this. He thinks he's, I don't know, he thinks he's making a connection. Who are you making a connection with?
A lot of lovely women, but women send very salacious pictures. You know, I get it being, the bachelor on this show. I'm always getting those type of pictures.
Mm-hmm. Are you? Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm. You mean, did you say always getting those type of pictures or always looking at those type of,
there's a difference? There's a difference.
Different.
Look
what showed up in my email. That's a URL, man. What? That's, you actually typed that in. That's actually a Google search. Yeah.
A lot of lovely women, but women send me very salacious pictures, and I just give them to the Secret Service. I thought somebody would think I was, and then the 81-year-old president said just before trailing off and stopping the sentence, it's unclear why the Secret Service, whose role is to protect the president and investigate counterfeiting and fraud, would have any interest in amateur softcore porn sent to Biden while he was an unmarried senator between the years of 73 and 77. ABC, CBS, and NBC, 0 seconds coverage on it.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah. He claims they were sent by email. They were sent in the mail.
Did I say email?
Yeah, because...
Did I say email?
He may have said email.
Oh, okay. No, he just said sent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Mailed him.
Okay. It would have to be mail.
Yeah, he said mail.
Yeah.
Biden tells a Wisconsin crowd one of his Catholic school teachers was a Green Bay Packer. False. That was the new one he came up with. It's like the lies are really getting fascinating, aren't they?
Well, they're bizarre. We got to go back and find the article because we keep referring to it. But it was an article done by one of the liberal media groups not long after he took office. The bizarre set of lies that Joe Biden's been telling for years, and this is just a continuation of that. Some of these, again, are lies that he's told before.
Biden blurted Wednesday that one of his childhood Catholic school teachers was drafted by the Green Bay Packers, an assertion disproven by a simple check of publicity available through NFL records, or not publicity, publicly available with NFL records. The 81-year-old president shared the false claim as he boasted of his connection to Wisconsin sports fans during a trip to the swing state. My theology professor at the Catholic school I went to was a guy named Riley, last name, and he had been drafted by the Green Bay Packers, Biden said, south of Milwaukee, and he decided to become a priest before that, so he didn't go, but every single solitary Monday that Green Bay won, we got the last period of the day off. According to the Pro Football Reference, the Packers have only drafted a single person with the name Riley or Riley spelled in different names since the NFL began its annual college draft in 1936. University of Colorado quarterback Maurice Tex Riley was selected with the 202nd overall pick in the 22nd round. Wow, they used to have 22 rounds of the 1947 draft after his education was interrupted by in World War II, during which he commanded bombing missions over the Pacific. According to a 2002 article in the Denver Post, instead of playing professional football, the Bronze Star recipient rejoined the Air Force in October of 1947 as a civil engineer. So ABC, CBS, and NBC, coverage of that lie, zero. Biden's inaccurate memory of him being a football legend.
Yeah.
What, was he watching Married with Children and Al Bundy was on?
I guess.
I scored 4 touchdowns in one game. Remember, it wasn't 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns in one game.
Yeah. My wife was, in fact, asking me, I said, I got something wrong with my right ankle. I don't know what's going on. It's really sore. She says, what do you think it is? I said, an old football injury. She says, you didn't play football. I said, I didn't say play. I was watching football on the couch.
By the way, I don't think a lot of people know that you were a star receiver in high school. Star receiver, you were a first-string guy. You were the guy who caught the ball, Stern said. Runner-up in state scoring, Biden replied. What the heck, but I was a runt. Biden made the same boast during a campaign event in Michigan in February and twice the same day in December, but Biden is exaggerating. The Wilmington News-Journal reported that in 1960, Biden placed 4th with 4 touchdowns and 24 points in a 5-school conference for private schools in Delaware. So Biden boasts that about all the lives he saved as a lifeguard. Now we know that one.
Yeah.
That was false. Coverage by ABC, CBS, and NBC, zero. Biden recalls a time that he used to drive an 18-wheeler. We talked about that one.
Yeah.
That one never happened.
No.
You really wonder, they say that if you tell a lie, that some people actually eventually believe it.
They start believing their own lie.
Now, when you've talked about it often, about when you played for Aerosmith.
Okay. And this would be a good time to make it right with the audience. It's not true. I did not play guitar with Aerosmith. It didn't happen. I never even, I got to be honest with you, I never even played along with an Aerosmith song on a Bluetooth speaker or anything else. I never played in the band Aerosmith. It was Bon Jovi.
And I did tell a lie for a significant period of time that
you were an eligible bachelor.
No, when Will Chamberlain said that he had made love to 20,000 women, and I said I could beat that. Yeah, that was probably a lie.
How many did you disappoint? I mean, date. How many of you let down? All of them. What?
Does that really happen?
What?
Do people really? I can't imagine telling a lie so much that I actually believe it. Unless I have cognitive dementia problems.
Well, it would mean that Joe Biden has had those, if that were to apply here, he would have had cognitive issues since an early age. No, I think when when somebody gets through their entire life with lies, it is their craft. It is the only thing they know to do. It is the only way they know how to get through a day. You know? I mean, it's playing poker with Brad Pitt a couple of weeks ago, and I told him, I said, just imagine if you weren't an actor, you know? I mean, because you have to get up there and portray somebody else, and you've done it over and over again, and a lot of people will say you lie for a living. You know, what would you do? Would you be a car salesman? Would you be...
What did he eat?
Huh? What did he eat at the poker game?
Well, yeah, you were playing poker. I mean,
nachos.
Did he eat anything? Or
yeah, nachos.
How much did he win? Did you win or lose when you played poker against?
You always lose to Brad
Pitt. Okay.
Yeah, don't pull any
But
fast
seriously,
ones.
Psychologically, what type of brain believes the lies? Now,
someone who's pathological, because you know there's the old saying, hey, if you want your kids to lie for you, you have to lie to your kids. You know, don't tell them the truth, because then they'll just blurt it out, because kids have that thing sometimes that's not to their parents, but to other people. They're honest. And you know, if you need to sell that lie in your mind, you need to live that lie.
You know, for example, I've probably to many young people told that, you know, the exaggeration about the Santa character thing, but I never actually believed it.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just amazing, because he just goes, really, it gets to be, and they're letting him out more now, and it gets to be, you hear the new one, like the truck driver was the one last week. We went, oh, come on. We knew that. So
he's
the thing
told
is,
that one before, but I mean, he always has to conjure up these things and reuse them in a setting where he thinks he's getting credibility, like the whole, you know, eligible bachelor's list for 5 years, or getting I don't know, pictures or solicitations from women and then handing it over to the Secret Service back in the day. You have to, in your mind, you have to be living that lie, which means that he's lied to the people that are closest to him for a long time. There's no way he doesn't lie to them, in fact, because it goes back to what I just said a minute ago. If you want everyone else to carry that lie for you, you've got to lie to everybody closest to you.
Because he's been telling them for a significant period of time. I remember I was having the conversation yesterday, not with my nephew, but when he was younger, I used to tell him, I said, stop lying. You know, my father told me it when I was young. Stop lying. You know, you're an idiot if you don't understand that everybody knows you're lying and mocking you behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
That hurt, because you're like, I mean, I'm not getting to, nobody's buying my lies. And I told it to my nephew, too. I said, you know, it was a long time ago. I said, you know, because people eventually figure out, and as you get to be an adult and somebody's a pathological liar and lie, they get caught by other adults, and everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
And you're mocked. I worked for somebody who was a pathological liar, and everybody who worked underneath this person knew that he was a pathological liar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, he'd be talking. It would almost be like Lundberg in Office Space would be talking, and instead of everybody paying attention, everybody would be snickering, going, oh, my God, got to be kidding me. This guy's actually thinking that we're buying into this. You lose complete and total respect. But as I told my nephew a long time ago, I said, you know what one of the best times in life is? Where you never think you have to lie about anything because you really have nothing to lie about. You know, what a happy point that is.
Well,
and trying to keep up with your lies. But you mentioned the point that he's been telling these lies for ages, so his entire family knows he's a pathological liar. They're the first to know. Your family's the first to know if you're a pathological liar.
Well, and he isn't being brutally honest with them and going, hey, guys, just please excuse me when I'm telling these lies. He's lying to them.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, we'll hear from latest comments from Jonathan Turley on the Trump trial and Stormy Daniels. We'll get to that. Even on MSNBC, their legal expert on Morning Joe apparently yesterday saying Stormy Daniels' testimony hands defense major issue for appeal. Well, the first reason for appeal is there's no crime.
Exactly. It's appeals should be a walk. It should be a walk, but you've got to get to it first. And this really weird, bizarre lawfare that's going on against Trump, everybody can see it for what it is. Those that are making excuses look very pathetic because you can't bring up you can't bring up a law that's broken because the prosecution hasn't presented a law that's been broken to this point. And Monday we'll enter our 5th week into this sham being called a trial.
Have a line open. 1-866-90-RED-EYE. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Download our app today, our Red Eye Radio app, and you can listen when you choose. Download it today.
And thank you.
And listen. Please. Please listen.
I'm not saying please do it or else.
Oh, okay. That's a different approach.
Yeah. It's the or else part. I don't know what the or else is. Don't ask questions. We're not taking questions
I can
right
see
now.
the complaint, the boss calling. Did Eric threaten the audience?
Possibly.
Listen or else?
Yeah. And I'll tell management, too. We're not taking questions right now.
Wait a minute. That was in Demolition Man.
What?
What was the guy's name? Simon something? Put your hands up, move away, put your hands up, or else. And then he turned and looked, or else. And then he just went and Simon Phoenix, what's his name? Simon Phoenix, put your hands up, or else. It was the or else that made him attack all the cops at that point. So it can be viewed as a threat.
Can it?
Or else what? Or else I'll give you an ice cream cone.
Or else I'll ask you again to download the app.
All right, here we go. Jonathan Turley yesterday talking about the Stormy Daniels testimony after she was done with Brett Baer. Here we go.
Well, just when you thought this trial couldn't get more bizarre, they called this former porn star to the stand. And Trump's counsel objected repeatedly on good grounds that her testimony is virtually entirely immaterial. The NDA is not in dispute, that this was just an effort to get lurid details in. The judge refused to listen to them. He narrowed it, but not much. And what happened was a dumpster fire. It was embarrassing. It really made the judge look quite, feckless and if not farcical in his own courtroom. And so the prosecutors then allowed a cross-examination that they knew would be devastating. But that's the important thing here. This is exactly what the prosecutors expected. They coached her. She admitted to that. So they just wanted to get these lurid details out. And the question is why? It doesn't seem to be winning the case as much as trying to win the election.
We assume that Michael Cohen will be testifying soon as the big witness here. He is up on TikTok almost every day, raking in donations, talking about his former boss in very specific ways, talking about this case. It's kind of different if you think about what the former president can and cannot say and where Michael Cohen is before he takes the stand.
Yeah, the question is, what is the judge protecting Cohen from? Cohen is out there attacking and taunting, campaigning essentially against the president in the middle of a presidential campaign. What is the judge protecting here? And that question is getting more and more evident as this case goes to the Court of Appeals. The most amazing thing about the TikTok thing last night was Cohen saying he wants to run for Congress where he'll take yet another oath. I mean, he seems to collect oaths like people, collect heads for their walls. I mean, the one guy that I would think would be somewhat oath adverse would be Michael Cohen.
And that's something that we brought up yesterday, that you can't go after, that Trump can't go after the witnesses, yet the witnesses can go after Trump, which is posterior backwards about how the Justice Department is supposed to work.
Right.
I'm not talking about the Department of Justice. That's how the justice system is supposed to work, which is you are innocent until proven guilty, and so your rights are protected. And what they're doing is attempting to protect the imaginary rights of a witness for the prosecution who is probably one of the most well-known perjurers in modern American history, that somehow he needs to be protected as he's out on social media every day bashing the person who was supposed to be presumed to be innocent until proven guilty, and the judge is telling the defendant the gag order is only on you, not on the people, not on the defense witnesses who are, the prosecution witnesses who are out there every day bashing you. To me, I've never seen a case where that's been allowed to happen. I do not remember. Maybe there's one that didn't get much publicity, but it's just, but if it didn't get publicity, there'll probably not be a gag order. So I just have no idea. That's why it's viewed as so outrageous, which is why they're appealing it, while they're taking that, to a higher court, because that's just unprecedented. It's completely backwards. The judge, and we saw that in the civil case, the judge seems to automatically be saying that Trump is guilty before he's found guilty, and therefore the protection goes to the witnesses for the prosecution who are attacking Trump. It's unheard of. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and that's why I believe this judge should be gone. This judge should be removed from the bench.
Yeah.
He won't be, but can you imagine anybody else who comes before this judge in the future?
Oh, my God.
Knowing what this judge will do?
Well, again, it's clear that the judge is trying to taunt Trump, knowing the nature of Trump, to talk about everything. The gag order is, we believe, unconstitutional. Certainly, at the very least, you look at it, and I believe there's no doubt in my mind, taunting Trump so that he can have an excuse to be the first guy to throw Trump in jail. And yet everybody else can go talk about it over and over again. And he can't mention it at all. It is far beyond bizarre.
It really is.
And it's, when you say, well, it's making a mockery of the court system, it goes beyond that. implication here is that Trump, because the other day when the judge called him out for audibly cursing when Stormy Daniels first took the stand, this is basically implying this is intimidating you're intimidating the witness. All right, let's get this straight. Here's the guy who you say had a written agreement that came with payment to her for her not to speak. That's not indicative of somebody who's intimidating. That sounds like somebody who is willing to go out of their way to come to an agreement with this person on a non-disclosure agreement, which, by the way, happens all the time. You see the leftists trying to say this, well, he certainly paid a lot of money over something that never happened. If you know anything about the legal system, you would know of the countless cases that people had to make the decision based on the direction of their lawyer that said, you're better off here just to give this person a check that comes along with a non-disclosure agreement and be done with it.
Well, the amount of money, though, doesn't matter for a non-disclosure agreement. That
No.
doesn't. There isn't a set point.
That's the only way you get somebody to sign it. That's the only incentive that someone is going to sign it.
But that argument, when used, is just such a bogus argument because the amount of money that you agree to is no indication that a crime was committed, and that's what it's about. It doesn't even have to do with whether he was with her or not.
No.
That doesn't even matter. All that matters is, why is she there? She signed a non-disclosure agreement.
That's it.
They both agreed.
Yep.
There is no crime. Why is she testifying?
Right.
It's that simple. Let's get back to more of the interview that Turley did with Brett Baer yesterday. Here we go.
One thing more on this case, and this is Hillary Clinton weighing in on what she sees the real issue here in this case.
The one that is going on now currently in New York is really about election interference. It is about trying to prevent the people of our country from having relevant information that may have influenced how they could have voted in 2016.
Now, I didn't do that interview. Had I been doing it, I probably would have said, well, what about the dossier that was paid for by your campaign? You got an FEC fine for it, but obviously a prosecutor didn't a DA didn't charge you in that case.
By the way, let me just for a second say, finally somebody in the media brought that up. Okay, now I'm going to be calm again.
Yeah. Well, and it's, all the salacious and false material in the dossier.
Exactly. Well, and the fact, as he brought up, the campaign was fined by the FCC for a campaign violation fine.
Yep.
Trump never was.
Exactly.
Right. And nobody will question her on that because she actually committed a civil crime.
Right.
By, again, and they found, the FEC found her in violation of it, found her a couple of $100,000, I believe. And it was like, well, you did it, and they didn't prosecute you, and you actually got civilly fined for falsifying your campaign records.
And the second point I would make to Hillary Clinton is, okay, so you agree during the campaign season of 2020 that the FBI should have been okay with people learning about the laptop, which we can see would have changed people's minds and how they voted during the before the election of 2020, and it's ridiculous. By the way, every time she speaks on anything, it's laughable.
The one that came out yesterday, I don't know how they did it. Either it was either AI, whatever, but it was her in that setting talking and saying, basically saying, well, no, I went in because Bill Clinton Bill went so many times to Epstein's Island that I had to go into the jail, and they turned off the cameras. And then I ended up killing Epstein.
Yeah.
It was like, and it's in her voice.
It's AI, and it just sounds
it's just,
so real. It's hilarious.
It is really hilarious. Let's hear Jonathan Turley respond to Brett Baer there on on the fact that, wait a minute, Hillary did it. Here we go.
Right, it's because you have a modicum of journalistic integrity. That is, it's obvious what the next question is. The Clinton campaign lied to the media when it denied funding the Steele dossier. It hid the funding through its general counsel, Mark Elias, as legal expenses. And they were later fined for that. And in fighting that fine, they argued, no, legal expenses covers this huge category. This is perfectly correct, which is basically what the Trump people are arguing. But to watch Hillary Clinton make this argument really represents a new low for her. But it's hard to believe that anyone would be persuaded.
Now, what's the difference between Trump and Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton got fined. Why didn't Trump? He didn't use campaign money.
No.
I mean, this isn't hard. This is basic stuff. And I loved it on, I think it was on MSNBC or CNN. They were all trying to come up with what they think the crime was. And
the prosecution hasn't made the case of what the crime is
it was
yet.
Lee Zeldin going, you guys can do that all the who ran for governor of New York. Mm-hmm. You guys can do whatever you want. I mean, you go ahead, you can speculate, but there is no crime after 3 weeks that the judge has even acknowledged. The prosecution hasn't brought up what the actual crime is, in the law.
Right.
And we're 3 weeks, actually 4 weeks if you take jury selection. We're 4 weeks into it.
Yeah.
And so there isn't a legal point that anybody can really make on it, yet this case is still going on, and it should not be.
Nope.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Survey says just 4% of current retirees say they are living the dream. 4%. Now, I have no idea what that means. If someone
Living the dream?
If someone said, are you living the dream? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What? Which dream?
Whose dream? Yeah. I don't know.
Am I enjoying myself? Yes. But what part of my life am I living? The aches and pains that I wake up with in the morning? No, that's not a great dream. My golf game? No, that's not living the dream.
Watching, people walk down the sidewalk every day. There's a guy that shows up every day and stuffs a bunch of paper in this little box on my porch. It's annoying.
Also, Gavin Newsom is coming for your car, and he wants you to know it. That's the headline from Politico.
Oh.
A liberal publication. We'll get to that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the world, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Over there is Eric Harley.
Hello.
Good morning. Welcome to a Friday. Let's talk beer.
Right.
It's been over a year since the whole Bud Light thing. I saw the article yesterday, and I went, what are they why are they comparing this year to last year? I mean, it's over a year old. It was April of last year.
All right, yeah.
Bud Light brand has still not recovered in the United States more than a year after the whole Dylan Mulvaney. They call it a boycott. It's not a boycott. It's a I think it's a permanent change in product is what it is. I don't think it's. I think people they moved on to a different beer. It's not like this is going to end.
Well, it's different than a boycott. If you're, hanging out and you bring a 6-pack of something else, people don't say, "Oh, hey, you don't have Bud Light." They just see something, whatever other brand. If you show up with a 6-pack of Bud Light, people go, "Oh, you got Bud Light, huh? Well, how's that?" And it just becomes, the center of the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it changes the nature of it. It's almost like a bizarro kind of boycott situation in that people they affiliate the brand with this entire mess and they don't want any part of it, which had us asking, with what happened with Starbucks and their union and the Hamas versus Israel back and forth of October online on social media between Starbucks and its employee union. Is that what's behind it? One analyst pointed to it as he thinks that's probably the event that sent their sales down in the first fiscal quarter of 24. And as we mentioned, you're changing your routine. If that's the case, if you decide for whatever reason, whichever side you're on, however you feel about that whole thing, or you just want to avoid it altogether, once you change your routine, then that's it. If people moved on from Bud Light and then they found another beer because, that's the task. If you were always picking up Bud Light and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, as a part of all this, you decided no longer am I going to drink Bud Light. You started a new routine, which included finding a new beer. When you find that new beer, it's about taste and everything. It should taste great, but also be less filling. And so when you
Miller,
yeah. So when you do that, you're changing a routine, but it's also the customer base is finding a new product that they latch onto. Mm-hmm. Most people don't just go and randomly buy whatever beer. I mean, I guess if you were having a big event, you would want to stock the event with, different types. But if you're talking about your average customer picking up a 6-pack, they show up, they're going to buy their beer. When your beer no longer is their beer and they have a new beer, that's not a boycott. They've moved on.
Right. It's, I thought the same thing. Boycott isn't the right word. It's we've moved on. Mm-hmm. First quarter earnings released on Wednesday. Anheuser-Busch reported globally a 2.6% increase in revenue, but a 9.1% decrease in the United States. Sales to retailers in the U.S. were down 13.7%, primarily driven by a drop in Bud Light volume, the company said. Sales to wholesalers in the U.S. market were also down by 10.1%. So sales of Bud Light began to tumble in the U.S. in April of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
So you've gone through the full year.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. Will be to see the because now they're going from first quarter to first quarter. I'm assuming when they say the first quarter, I'm assuming they're looking at the first quarter of last year. What will be interesting will be the second and third quarter to see if sales is still going down or whether it's topped off at a certain amount.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And
yeah.
so you look at it and you say, because this sort of relates to the Starbucks, that when you start talking about things that aren't a necessity in your life, you can have a choice of a beer, you can have a choice of coffee. Will these things become more less of a boycott where then they rebounded back to a permanent loss in business, or I won't say permanent because nothing is permanent, but a significant period of sales reductions until it's forgotten. And with beer, who knows? I mean, in beer, it might be 5 years that a lot of, people that, were 20 and now are 26, where they don't even remember the whole Bud Light thing. So it's sort of forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a great message, though. It really is, because not only was it promoting the radical transgender movement, but also they insulted their own customers.
Yeah.
In the meantime.
Yeah.
If they would have come out and said, look, we're just trying to expand beer. It's beer, and everybody should be able to drink our beer because we love our beer. That's all. It was just part of this particular marketing. They still might have suffered something, because the radical transgender movement, as we know, takes no prisoners, and it involves everything else. As we have seen with the protest in colleges, the radical transgender movement, when you see it, also is a movement that supports Hamas, that would kill every transgender as soon as they saw them.
Right.
And so, but it's inclusive. It isn't as if, okay, the pro Jewish genocide, pro terrorist protesters, that's simply, they're a one issue person. They're not. It's all, and you saw it. It's all down the line. Everything that you see, whether it's climate change, whether it's a radical transgender movement, whether it's open borders, they all believe the same thing. They've just added on.
Yeah, and over again, we see these individuals with this virtue signaling that are a part of this, including the now former marketing person there at Bud Light, with the whole frat boys comment. You were willing, in fact, did throw your own customer base under the bus while you were virtue signaling in order to promote what? Were you trying to appease one group? You make beer. We believe our beer is great. We hope everybody enjoys it. Drink responsibly. It's that simple. It's not that hard. Hey, we've been number one for the longest time for a reason. Because we want everybody to enjoy it. Drink responsibly. It's not at every turn. It's like, why are we walking through this
minefield?
No, it's like, the Common Core math. Mm-hmm. Nate Bargatze has this great, the comedian, has this great bit about it. It's like, someone shows up to your door and it's like, yeah, can I come in? Well, yeah, you can, but now what you have to do is go around, hop the fence, go through the yard, come through the back door, and then meet me at this same point. Well, why do I have to? That's just the way we do it now. It's, it seems that we have to make, or too many people are making all of this too difficult. How long has it been? It's 9 or 10 years at least that we've been telling people like Howard Schultz when he was CEO at Starbucks. If anybody asks you questions about issues, listen, you can discuss all the issues over a great cup of coffee. We make the best, we believe. Come on in. We'll make it exactly how you like it. We make great coffee, and we think, in fact, we've got millions of customers who agree. They show up every day for our product. We're grateful for each and every one of them, and we want you to, be a part of it. And we'll see you tomorrow morning.
I remember after the whole Bud Light debacle is when Troy Aikman, who sells, it's more of a regional beer here in Texas, his beer, which is, I think, 2-point-something grams of carbs. Mm. And it actually got his commercials. I saw it. I went, whoa, look at this commercial. This is the way you need to do it. I think we played the commercial on the air last year. And it was like, hey, we're an American beer. We're made in America. Mm-hmm. We're an American company. Mm-hmm. And what do we want to promote for our beer? We're not trying to tell you how to do anything except have a good time. and have it at your party, have it at this, have it at that, and it's actually a really good. Now I still have, I mean, whatever I bought a year ago, I still have. If I bought a 12-pack or whatever, I still have half of it in my refrigerator.
Well, the
but
thing
when
about
I did,
that,
but when I did taste it, it was really, really good beer. But he was promoting the fact that beer is to get together to enjoy. It's people getting together to enjoy themselves. And he said, we're not going to tell you what to do or what to think, but we're made in America. And when he said that, I went, oh, that's just awesome. He goes, we're made in America and we sell it in America. And I'm like, oh, wow. I was thinking of Tommy Boy with Dan Aykroyd selling the brake pads. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
well, and the thing about the Troy Aikman beer is he's right. You could, the idea should be you sit around and have a beer and discuss things. And in the case of that beer, if you're old enough, and you got to be pretty old, you'll remember the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. You can talk about that. Is there anything on the label that looks Cowboys-ish? I haven't seen the label.
It's 8. His number.
His number from the jersey.
His number from the
okay.
jersey.
I mean, I knew that was is that the name? The name of the beer is 8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah,
yeah.
8.
So it looks okay. So it looks like a jersey number.
But it's real. I mean, it's real, and it's funny because when I talking to my Buffalo Bills friends, I go, am I allowed to drink this? No.
Yeah,
but
no.
But everybody who's tasted it it's really a, well, I could do a beer commercial. It's a light beer, tastes light, most of it.
Yeah.
It's not like a full-bodied beer, and I don't understand the Pilsner stuff. And like we criticized it a couple of years ago.
That great Pilsner taste.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago when it was sitting there, and I forgot it was Miller or whoever it was, two people sitting on a park bench talking about beer. Oh, I drink it because it has a great Pilsner taste. And I'm like, no American has ever said that in the history of beer.
Tell me what Pilsner is.
Yeah, it's got a great Pilsner taste, and they're going through the technical things of it. I'm like, guys, you don't even know how to sell damn beer, do you?
You know, Mac, I come from a long line of Pilsner lovers. If we don't taste that Pilsner, we're out.
Now, it's okay for wine. It has aromas of cherry and vanilla and blueberry. And then you taste the wine, you go, I don't taste any of that. But they say it does. Maybe let me try it again. Let me clean my palate and then take more of the wine because that's what. But beer, come on, it's beer.
It has hints of the valley and the earthiness and has a very beautiful finish. Listen, it's wine. I'm going to tell you right now, the finish isn't going to be beautiful. In fact, it's not going to be pretty at all. Don't tell me that crap. Don't try and sell that to me. No. It's wine. Does it taste okay? All right, then we're good. Which wine pairs best with
do you remember
Cheetos?
Do you remember in Sideways with Paul Giamatti? He's the one, and he's like doing the whole thing and swirling it. What's his name? I can't think of the other actor.
The one Thomas Hayden Church.
Thomas Hayden Church. Mm-hmm. He's like going through the whole thing, and then you sniff it, then you move it around in the cup. Thomas Hayden Church is chewing gum and just goes, sort of chugs it. Goes, what are you doing?
I had a friend who passed a couple of years ago, but he was British and growing up in the UK, he said, and at least growing up where he grew up, there was always lots of wine around with with dinners and everything else. So during college, he made and bottled wine and sold it to make money. And I said, oh, then you know everything about wine. He goes, I know nothing about wine. I know nothing about wine. I made a cheap wine, and I sold a few bottles along the way. I know absolutely nothing. Nothing. Maynard from Tool has a winery, and he talks about learning how to do all of that and what it takes, to make your own wine. And I'm not a wine guy anyway, but
I think the
does it taste okay?
I think the Tragically Hip out of Canada still has their Canadian wine.
Yeah.
They sell it.
Right. Yeah, there's been a number of
what happened?
celebrities.
What happened to Trump wine?
Right now it's on trial. Yeah, it's being charged with a number of non-crimes.
Election interference.
Yeah.
It got people really wasted,
Well,
so they didn't know who they were going to vote for. They were actually going to vote for Biden, but they voted for Trump, so it was election interference.
You want to see some strippers testify? Oh, man, that trial. That's not good.
Are you saying strippers like their wine?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying the court will ignore this and the jury will ignore these comments.
All right, Al Bundy says, let's go to the nudie bar for a glass of wine.
Right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Coming up on in the bottom of the hour. There it is. The Columbia protests could go to court. The custodians mobbed at Columbia might get a union lawsuit. Now you've got employees of these colleges looking and saying, our college didn't protect us. Could you imagine, for example, if people were just able to, they just had an open door at the radio station or any place where you work where people could come in and just protest you and they wouldn't get security in and they allowed people to harass you and do illegal things to, for example, keep you from going where you wish to go. And they'd get sued. The same thing here. It's like these people don't belong on campus. You shut it down, but you allow them into that hall and there were employees that were scared to death.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just reading this editorial from the Washington Times, Eric, and this really interesting because, you know, we talk about the case in New York, the Bragg case in New York, but the Jack Smith classified documents case is on hold right now, and I'm just reading this from the Washington Times editorial board. U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon went on an unsealing binge last week in the classified documents case against Trump. Unlike a certain Manhattan magistrate, Her Honor's first priority has been ensuring the public is aware of what government lawyers have been doing behind the scenes in the public's name. That is creating headaches for the Department of Justice, which accuses the former president of retaining classified work documents. The items in dispute include mementos, such as a personal letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Under the Presidential Records Act, chief executives are entitled to keep those personal records. Nearly every president has saved papers this way. including items marked classified. President Biden kept his top secret stash in a cardboard box in the garage next to his Corvette. But as we all know, they didn't include they didn't include this in this editorial. He was never president at that point.
Right.
He had their presidential record.
Difference.
Right. He wasn't president. This is from when he was senator and vice president. But under Attorney General Merrick Garland, the DOJ's motto has become, "It's only a crime when Republicans do it." Aside from this selective prosecution, Special Counsel Jack Smith has been reckless with the material seized in the raid of Mr. Trump's home at Mar-a-Lago on August 8th, 2022. The filter team took care to ensure that no documents were moved from one box to another, but it was not focused on maintaining the sequence of documents within each box, said Mr. Smith's top lieutenant, Jay Bratt. An outside vendor was called in to scan the documents, but nobody seems to have been watching what it was doing, as there are some boxes where the order of items within the box is not the same as the associated scans, Mr. Bratt added. Government acknowledges that this is inconsistent with what the government counsel previously understood and told the court. White House records also show Mr. Bratt met in person with high-level West Wing staff in 2021 as Mr. Biden's team was plotting with the National Archives and the DOJ to bring the documents charge against the likely GOP nominee. This raises serious questions since a special counsel is supposed to be above political influence. It's even harder to explain how Nathan Wade, the disgraced special counsel who prosecuted Mr. Trump in Georgia on behalf of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, spent 8 hours in conference with the White House counsel's office in 2022. Most local lawyers don't get advice from the president's legal team when they need help. Real Clear Investigations' Julie Kelly, as we have mentioned her name over the last couple of weeks, raised the question of whether the FBI staged the famous photo of classified documents, cover sheets scattered across the floor in Mr. Trump's residence. Remember the top secret?
Yeah, right.
The disclosures appear to suggest that the colorful folders marked top secret were placed there by the FBI. The investigation team used classified cover sheets for that purpose, Mr. Brett told Judge Cannon, and those sheets are what gave the photo the dramatic impact. None of these important issues would have come to light if not for Judge Cannon's insistence on transparency. On Monday, she put the whole case on hold while she considers what to do. Dropping this mess entirely seems an appropriate response. Oh, there you go on that one. So
yeah,
and she's been covering it for a while, but you're not going to see that one. You know, that's not going to come up before the election. I don't see how they would ever get to it.
I don't see how you're going to get to that. The judge wrote about the 8 motions that were filed. A couple of them haven't even made the public docket because the nature of them and the content of the concerns with classified materials and all of that. As we have talked about from the beginning, we don't even know how you get through that because, all right, certain things have to be presented for discovery. The defense has filed a number of motions here. How do you satisfy that with classified documents? Those documents would either have to be declassified, which nobody is talking about, or they have to be heavily redacted. And how do you get full discovery if they're heavily redacted? That becomes problematic. So I don't know how you do it. I wondered about Merrick Garland's approach. Was Merrick Garland, number one, I think they were clearly going for the dramatic effect of raiding Mar-a-Lago, on the documents thing. And then beyond that, I don't know what. Is Merrick Garland thinking, well, we'll come at you and then they'll come in with a plea deal. Trump's attorneys will come in with a plea deal and we won't have to go through this? Well, no, you got the case. You got all of this special prosecutor assigned and you got the investigation. I mean, it just became a monster that logistically you may never get to because of the nature of the documents involved. It reminds me of when Mueller, as a special prosecutor, went after those, 13 Russians, indicted them. But there was really, from the beginning, by the way, after they did that, they talked about there was no expectation that those individuals in Russia with ties to the Kremlin would respond to U.S. indictments. So it would be that, well, they're just going to be kind of hanging out there. We did it. See, we went after them. All of a sudden, those individuals show up with U.S. attorneys and tell the court, yeah, we want discovery. And Mueller says, what? Well, we can't. What do you mean discovery? We can't hand over these documents, in relation to which would be essentially handing it over to the Kremlin. All these documents in court. Well, then what did you think was going to happen? And so I have to wonder here in this case with Merrick Garland, did you ever expect this to get to this point? And if so, how did you think that was going to play out? Or was that just not going to be your worry? You're going to pass it on. Okay, you assign a special prosecutor and you wash your hands of it. I don't know. But it's a mess. And I think you're right. I don't think we see this before election. I don't think we see anything else of this document's case before the election.
Yeah, I don't see it. And when you talk about what's going on in New York right now, I mean, it's just, to me, it's just a disaster. I was looking here at, we haven't read anything from Peggy Noonan in a while, but she had a column, the 2024 election, a certain fatalism has set in.
Ooh. Wow.
And she's talking about Joe Biden. She goes, political pros start to ask if there's anything Biden can do to pull out a victory in November. 6 months to Election Day, and things feel sort of fatalistic. There seems little to discover and nothing new to say about each of the candidates. It's not going to dawn on you suddenly that Joe Biden is too old and infirm or Donald Trump is too crazy. You factored that in already. You know what you think of both and have a sense of what compromises you'll make within yourself to vote for either. Voters can still be nudged. It's not over, though. Mr. Trump is ahead in most, if not all, of the battleground states, and I'm struck by the number of political operatives, veterans, and thinkers now asking honestly if there's anything that the president can do to pull it out. Or the panel on MSNBC that was like, who would protect democracy more? And it's Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, by what was it, 9 points or something?
Right. Yeah.
Which was just...
That's crazy. And she's right. At least on the RCP average at the moment, Trump is ahead in all of the 7 battleground states. Now, a number of them are very, very close on the RCP average. But while she alludes to the pricing in of each of them, we talked about that. It's already factored in who they both are and who they both are as president, except I would add, okay, now we can talk about Israel and Hamas with Biden. How much of that was priced in with many American voters on what's going on just this week?
Well, that's what she hits us and says some suggest a sister soldier moment in which the president distanced himself from the cultural left, but he did the opposite.
Right.
He became completely, totally anti-American and pro-terrorist by, number one, saying he would do anything, ironclad commitment to Israel and do whatever we have to do to bring the hostages out, and then betrays that message completely the next day. And she writes, a veteran Democratic office holder gives the bottom line. A pro-Biden coalition does not exist, but an anti-Trump one does. Mr. Biden must stop making the election a referendum on his record. Instead, make it a referendum on Trump's. When the people are this negative, make it about your opponent. He can't do that, though.
The difference is
he can't do that.
And that's another thing that benefits Trump. Everything leading up to COVID on the economy was on track. With the border, Trump was the one screaming in 2016, build a wall, build a wall, build a wall on any geopolitical situation. Trump killed Soleimani. End of story there. All of these situations, there's a track record. There's also the tendency by people in general to go back to, the way it was. Man, I'd love to go back to the way it was. But when it comes to your spending power from 2019, people are absolutely right to say we should be going back to the way it was. And Biden's only making it worse. It's only getting worse as time goes on. So building that anti-Trump coalition is nowhere near what it used to be. There's that core set of far left that will never vote for Trump. There's the never Trumpers that will never vote for Trump. But in terms of independents and average Americans that are willing to cross over and vote, they're going to look at this and say, we need somebody to come in with common sense. And you look at Trump by comparison, and I think it's vastly different than the Biden years.
She talks about that the campus demonstrations will hurt Biden at least marginally, and talked about the fact that that for parents with kids in high school and college, what's happening on campuses isn't abstract and far away. It's personal. To elaborate, parents have seen their children not only radicalized, but left unfit and unprepared for a productive future. Parents are stunned to see that their trusted educational institutions have captured their children and engrossed them in the naive fantasies about the world. When voters object to a situation, they kick against the incumbent who reigns over them. But the other point is, with what Biden has done the last couple of days, is even worse. They go, and the Biden criminal cases seem to be a bust.
Yeah.
And that's the case. That seems to be a complete bust
yeah.
for them. And they were depending on that. When I saw the headline yesterday, this election may come down to the election.
Yeah, right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. What I would say is, after reading that column from Peggy Noonan talking about the fact that Democrats are beginning to almost be resigned to the fact that Biden can't win.
Mm-hmm.
I think, instead of looking at just one issue, I think most Americans look at it. And I think Peggy Noonan wrote a column early on in the Biden administration where she wrote and said, remember, everything seems broken.
Yeah.
Well, take back then compared to now.
Oh, man.
And it's everything's is broken times 100.
Yeah.
And when you have a summer, I can guarantee there's going to be there's going to be massive riots.
It's going to be chaos.
What? Democrat far left initiatives that the president will sympathize for. That just adds to the narrative that everything is broken.
Yep.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.